Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video, and today we're checking out the Jaguar from the South America pack. It's been a while since that one came out, but yeah, awesome animal. Let's get started and looking at some of their habitats, starting with the one we're actually already looking at, which is the Zoo of Amsterdam, Artis, which has this beautiful enclosure. I mean, just look at that shape. It's so striking, it's so interesting, and it's so unique. This is a very old zoo. It's the Zoo of Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands. It's such a mix of very old buildings, listed buildings, monuments, statues, old enclosures that are repurposed, but also really awesome modern stuff like this. And I think that is absolutely beautiful and special. And yeah, we've got a couple of these viewing points down here where we could actually see a black panther or black jaguar walking around, which is super cool. And these are actually fairly common. It's fairly common to see the black panthers in zoos. This is kind of in contrast with something like a white tiger, which are also very common, but are not really something that we want, or at least good zoos will not be breeding their white tigers because it's a recessive gene that is not really a sign of good health. If you have white tigers, they won't do well in the wild and are generally unhealthy, so it's not advised to be breeding those. Whereas with a black panther or a black jaguar, the cause of their black fur is actually a dominant gene, and it is more so seen as a color morph rather than like a genetic mutation or something like that. So they are healthy individuals, and they are also being bred for that reason just fine. So yeah, that's a cool little fact that you might have not known. I sure didn't. I made the assumption that that was the case, but I did make sure to look it up before saying that in a video, because of course I don't want to spread misinformation here. But yeah, that is all according to the husbandry manual of the black of the Jaguar, which is written by Chester Zoo by the looks of it. I have it open on my other screen. But yeah, over here you can see that in the middle of these two habitats is this little ruined area where you can climb up. And there are signs being like, be careful, the rocks may be slippery, but this is an area that is made accessible to the guests, and you can get a bit of a top-down view of the enclosure over here, which I think is pretty cool. Over here you can see what those rocks look like. Definitely not something you want to take your grandma up towards, but for kids it's super fun, and of course for adults as well, because who doesn't like climbing stuff? I mean, that's just in our nature to want to do, I think. But yeah, over here we've got another one of those viewing points on the ground. Over here you can also see what the staff access looks like. I've got just a couple of small gates, and then it goes into a bit of an airlock system, like a double door, to make sure it's all safe and the jaguars can't get out. And then you're walking around here to get to the other side, to the second enclosure. So this is two enclosures in this big kind of structure, with indoor areas in the middle, and I think it's a very decent enclosure. It could be a bit bigger, but honestly this is one of the biggest enclosures in this video, sadly, so we really can't complain about that. And there is a lot of height, especially on this side. There's a lot of verticality, things for them to climb on, so there is actually a lot here for them, and I think it's just a really awesome enclosure. And also over here, look at how the netting goes into the water like that, or the mesh I should say. It goes into the water like that, and it just creates such a cool effect. It's so, I absolutely love this enclosure so much. The only thing I will say is that there are a lot of viewing points on a lot of sides of it, so there aren't a lot of areas where the Jaguar could get away from people, but that's really the only complaint that I would have for this one. So yeah, super awesome enclosure, really big fan of it, but that's pretty much all that we've got to see for Artis. So let's move on to BestZoo, which is by far not the best zoo in terms of Jaguar enclosures. This is it, this is all there is to it. The one that we saw on the left, that's part of the Sri Lankan leopard yards. This is all there is for the Jaguar, and as you can see, we've got two of them. At some point there were three because they did have offspring, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, not great. It's definitely on the small side. They do have a nice little water feature. I will give them that. There is some climbing frames. Very nice. And they are pretty active. They're playing around. They are sometimes making a lot of noises though, which I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. I don't know. This is one of this along with the rest of the leopard enclosures here is just, BestZoo, please do something about this, because it's just sad. It's just sad whenever you're here. I feel the need to apologize to these animals for like giving the zoo money whenever I come here. Yeah, it's not great, but you do get to see them pretty well, I guess. I don't know. Definitely not use that for inspiration. What's even worse is, I don't know if it's worse, I'll leave that up to you. We are in Parc Animalier de Bouillon, and this is the indoor area for the Jaguar. We can see that. What you might also notice is that we are in the same spot that we were for the black and white rough lemur video, if you've seen that one. And yeah, as we come around to the other side, this is the outdoor enclosure of the Jaguar, and I think it's a little bit bigger than the one in BestZoo, but it is so bland. Like, there is a couple of perches for them. You can see this one is on a nice perch, resting a bit. There are some trees and things. There seems to be a bit of a bath in the back, but it's just a flat, open thing. It's so boring. So yeah, definitely not two of the best zoos. They're both Best and Bouillon. But now we are in Dortmund, and this one is pretty nice, I guess. It's also not the biggest enclosure, but it is like we've got multiple of these mesh things kind of combined to create a larger enclosure. But yeah, man, Jaguars just don't get the biggest enclosures. I guess it's something to do with needing such a sturdy mesh thing. That's difficult. The mesh does kind of give you poor views of them though. Like, as you can see over here, this is about the best I could. We once again got a black one, which is really, really cool. And we've got indoor viewing here as well. There was also this stinging nettle, which I got stung by because it was sticking through the fence. Like, I was up against the fence with my short pants because it was like 30 degrees. Did not have a good time there. I think that was like the second or the third bit of nettle that I got stung by that same weekend. So I was just straight up having a bad time. But yeah, here you can see the indoor area looking pretty cool with all the stone and the wood. You can also kind of see into the central area, which is that little tower that was also sticking out. We could see from the outside. Here's a little connection between the two indoor areas and also between the two habitats, I guess. Which is pretty cool. I guess you won't see a Jaguar in there very often because I feel like most of the time they would be separated. I don't know how the social dynamics of the Jaguars work, but oh, look at that. That is so cool. So yeah, also here in the indoor area we can see a bit of climbing for them and stuff. So definitely pretty cool, and you can see there's even more space in the back there. I think that one was heading outside, so they can choose for themselves if they want to be inside or out. All pretty awesome right there. And then as we keep going here, there is more of these same kind of mesh structures which form their outdoor habitat, and it's all very nice and lush and got that South America rainforest vibe. Yeah, no, these structures could be a bit bigger, I think, but overall, compared to what we just saw, anything's better than that, right? So definitely not a bad enclosure. And another cool feature here is that that mesh structure you can also see over here from the anteater habitat. So you kind of got that. It's not really a predator-prey view, but you've kind of got a mixed view with the anteaters and the Jaguar, which is really, really cool. Anyway, last zoo for the video is the zoo of Krefeld, and this is once again a really awesome looking enclosure with a lot of height, which I can definitely appreciate. The netting structure itself is also super interesting with these almost diagonal beams, or no, they just straight up are diagonal beams like that. That looks super cool. The viewing area is really awesome with some water in the front. Of course, we saw in BestZoo already that the Jaguar do sometimes enjoy a bit of water. In Planet Zoo as well, they have the deep diving mechanic, which should tell you that they love a bit of water. So having a small water feature in the exhibit is definitely not a bad idea. But yeah, as for the exhibit, you cannot really see much because of just how lush it is. I also didn't see a Jaguar here this time. But yeah, let's rewind the clock a little bit to the winter. So we can see a bit more of the shape of this enclosure, and it just looks absolutely phenomenal right there. But we also see some education, more of the mesh. We can see there's a bit of a stream, or a possibility of a stream on the right bottom, going along the kind of barrier of the enclosure right there. It's like all concrete and stuff, so I'm assuming they could turn that on to create like a stream going into this water feature, which is very cool. We can even see a Jaguar over there. Very, very awesome. Yeah, you can see some more of the climbing frames. They've got some shelters in the back. Yeah, really cool enclosure. Really big fan of this one. Also could be a bit smaller, but definitely the height makes up for it, I'm pretty sure. No expert on that, and not gonna complain after seeing Bouillon and BestZoo. But that is everything I have to show you Jaguar wise. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope you make some awesome Jaguar enclosures. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.